Hello, my Sparks and Starlings. Welcome to my series, If Only They Had Loved, featuring Sword in a Stone from the Silver Age. The first point I'd like to make is that our worth in Christ is so great, yet how often does Satan attack our mental, emotional, spiritual, physical worth in Christ? At the beginning, we see a book open up to the story. There's a lock and key in the book. Is there a lock and key to our hearts? Is it as cold as stone? No one has the key but God. Also, the king has a shield by his side. Christ protects us even in death, because by death we are closer to him. No need to fear the end, my friend. He only has good things in mind. It's interesting how the sword and the stone isn't really a test on strength, as people thought, but really on heart, which people didn't think about. In this scene where a bird swoops down and almost grabs a squirrel, how many near misses do we have with danger? How many times does Jesus protect us and we don't even know? Every dark age must pass for a golden one. These things will pass in time. Every season has its debut. In one of the beginning scenes, Merlin rustles with the chain on his foot. Leave off, he says. Quicker. How many times but acting out of anger, not knowing things pushing up against a good God who's just trying to help us and bless us in a hardship because or when his beard gets stuck in the door. Is upset with responded with gentleness because he would have not had so much trouble. But how often do we do this in the door? But he pulled instead, making his beard frozen into a pom-pom. Says, who? I'd like to know who. Reminds me that Jesus is who can save you. I often forget that children of God makes us children of royalty. We're princes and princesses. The contrast of Sir Kay being a big man and the smallness of Arthur really set the stage and get the message across. This is a small, weak lad, yet he's going to be king. God doesn't guess. I don't remember why I wrote that down, but one of the characters must have made a guess, but I just wanted to remind and encourage everyone with this. Merlin makes the statement, if all goes well, but we know that God uses all things to work together for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purposes. Like in Snow White, she keeps on hoping they'll live happily forever, but the prince says that they know they will be happy forever. How many times do we stumble like one of the characters did, head first into trouble or temptation? I love Arthur's body language in one of the scenes. He has his hands on his hips, not in a me I'm telling you way, but in this gentle, sweet confidence of, I'm not afraid. He's just so sweet, being brave even though the circumstances would say otherwise. The wolves are after Arthur. Yet again he's provided for. How many times does God protect us when we don't even know it again? Makes long traffic and late work days not seem so bad, for he was using it for good, maybe protecting you from having an accident. The wolf is waiting with open jaws. How often is Satan doing the same thing? It's crazy how Arthur dropped in at the right place to end up in the chair. Crazy how Christ sets and plans things perfectly for us. Arthur's little cup Merlin gave him. Just so sweet. Makes me think of the verse, how my cup overflows. Arthur is so kind and giving. Ladies, find yourself a man like that. Better yet, be kind and loving, and you'll attract a man like that. What a comfort that God knows everything. Arthur's so amazed at everything that Merlin has. Just as Christ is so amazing you can't even begin to do him justice because words cannot describe the deep depth of wonder that he is. Arthur reached out to touch the sugar cup. Are you reaching out to touch Christ? Makes me think of the verse, I only want to touch his robe. Just a whiff of him is enough, more than enough if we choose to believe. Don't make things smaller, make your bag bigger, kind of like Mary Poppins. When remembering things you've learned, don't water it down to save space. Make the container bigger, there's always lots to learn. Don't make your heart small so that Christ cannot fit anymore. Make it bigger, a mansion for him, full of wondrous things he's taught you. Magic may not be able to solve all your problems like one of the characters said, but Christ certainly can. Everybody's got problems, one of the characters says. The world is full of problems, because we don't love perfectly, period. The boulder missed the wolf, but the small rock hit his head and made him upset. How often do we do that? Miss a big tragedy and then get upset when a smaller one comes our way? Just like the creators of the movie kept on reusing the same sequences and takes, how many times do we have to relearn something? And that's not a bad thing. Get it out, get it out! The little cup spoons out the water collected in it. We need to be the same way with sin. I love how we get to choose what we want to be faithful in. The squirrel ended up liking Arthur, but he didn't like that. But thankfully it was used for good because she ended up helping him in the end. Arthur originally pulled the sword out not for himself but for someone else. He's the best king ever, to sacrifice all for the people. It's kind of like a Cinderella story, just a sword and the stone story. And here's the ending to our story. What would it have been like for the characters if they had perfectly loved each other? Arthur wouldn't have been upset at being king. Merlin wouldn't be so upset. Archimedes and Sir Ector could have been each other's best friends. But we don't have this perfect love, at least not yet, because we haven't been made perfect in Christ, who is God, who is love. This lack of love is sin against God. It's serious business and needs reconciliation. The only way to do that is to ask to be forgiven of sins and to have a relationship with God.